Everybody wants welfare Yu-Gi-Oh! Nobody wants to spend money in Yu-Gi-Oh! But at the same time, everybody wants to have expensive cards in this game, but nobody wants to spend the money on. What's going on, Paisano? V here. You know, I've been getting a lot of these videos in my YouTube feed, whatever you want to call it, talking about the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And basically how expensive it is. And basically how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is such an expensive game. A lot of cards cost a lot of money. It's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. And ultimately, the same people that are making these videos saying how expensive Yu-Gi-Oh! Are people that continue making Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos basically buying those expensive cards. Just want to throw it out there. I'm not sure if anyone gets this or is on the same page, but the people that are complaining about the crazy high prices are going to buy those cards at the crazy high prices for content. Just want to throw it out there for anybody watching. But with that said, they're not entirely wrong. Yu-Gi-Oh! As of recent has gotten expensive. Where the tier 1 meta decks used to be $400 on average, they're getting up there. In fact, I actually have priced out one of the meta Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks right now. One of the most expensive decks of all time was a deck called Teledad back in September 2008, 2009. This was the actual meta I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot in, even though I didn't have Teledad. I took a lot of losses in this meta because basically, if you didn't play Teledad, you were on the ass end of, well, losing. And it kind of sucked because you had to shell out a ton of money in this game. Someone asked on Reddit, most expensive deck ever, and they replied by Teledad by far. And they're not wrong. Teledad was insanely expensive. This person says Teledad was fucking 1,000 plus, and when I lost interest in this game. So yes and no. Teledad was expensive, but 1,000 plus, well, there's a big asterisk next to that plus sign, because depending on how much money you had, you could have bought cards that, well, not everyone could have bought at the time. In fact, if we go by 1,000 plus, Teledad by itself, the entire deck, costs just as much as a Starlight Rare Appaloosa. Starlight Rare Appaloosa right now is roughly around $1,050, roughly, almost near $1,100 a copy. A card, by the way, in which you need in a current Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta deck. Now, you don't need a Starlight Rare, you can get an Ultra Rare, no big deal. But if you want a Starlight Rare, just know that's the price of Teledad. Which is pretty crazy when you really think about the fact that this is just one card, Teledad was an entire deck. But I'm not being really genuine, am I? For those that used to play back in Teledad format or know about Teledad format, you know it wasn't $1,000. There was a lot more into it. But before we talk about that, I just want to talk about a recent deck. So this deck came out about 4 weeks ago. This guy got second place at a regionals Saskatoon, and I priced out his entire deck on TCG Player, and it came out to $767. Oh, $746. Still expensive. $746 for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta deck. Now, this is a meta deck, Fire Kings. It is technically a Tier 1 meta deck. In fact, I would argue it's one of many Tier 1 meta decks, but most Tier 1 meta decks right now are around this exact price range. And a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Players aren't excited about this, especially if you are playing Fire Kings, if you are playing Rescue Ace, or even Salamander Great, or Snake Eyes. If you are playing this deck, you need some cards, like Bonfire. This Ultra right now is being priced at roughly around $100. So take this $746, add the $100, and you basically got what this person said about Teledad being roughly around $1,000. Or, once again, a Starlight Appaloosa. So looking at the prices, it's kind of crazy. But let's add more to it, because back in 2008, that dollar is worth way more than the dollar currently today. In fact, a dollar from 2008 is worth roughly around $1.42 today. So we'll go once again and grab $746, do a little calculate, and then we'll see that $746 in 2008 is worth roughly around $1,062 right now. You'll also find out that our $746 in 2008 is worth roughly around $522. What I'm trying to show you here is the price difference, that $2008 and $2024 are completely different. The spending power we have is weaker. So when someone said they paid $1,000 in 2008, $1,000 in 2008 actually would be roughly around $1,400 today's standards. But we gotta go back into it again, because Teledad was somewhere around the $3,000 range. Someone said Crush Card Virus alone is worth more than $1,000, and $1,000 for Crush Card Virus, once again, is roughly around $1,400 today. And when the deck being roughly around $3,000 in 2008, that deck would roughly be around $4,274 today. So Teledad was to be roughly around $3,000 in 2008 if you had everything. you'll be paying today for that same exact deck in a tier 0 format $4,274. So it's a lot more for Teledad than it is by today's standards. But wait a minute, why do we have so many Yu-Gi-Oh players upset about this? Why are so many Yu-Gi-Oh players upset about the cards costing money? Well, it becomes the I want. We've been spoiled with so many reprints. Now that we actually gotta pay real money for cards in core sets that are relatively new, we don't want to deal with that. We want QCRs, we want Starlight Rares, we want CRs, we want a set coming out every month that has a CR, UR, CR again. Like, we want the lowest rarity and highest rarity. Something that the Konami doesn't do. Reprint season happens at the end of the year, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Players want to happen all the time. And when it doesn't, like the beginning of the year, like how we are in now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players get really upset, and you see videos like this. By the way, I think it's hilarious to see one of the videos being a guy named Ruxin talking about his top 25 rarest, most expensive Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards being around $80,000 and then telling you Yu-Gi-Oh! Prices have gone insane. You can't make this up. It's absolutely hilarious when you realize the fact that a person opening some of the most expensive cards in the game are telling you, well, the current meta is. It's pandering at best. And I'm not trying to pick on Ruxin, because he's not wrong. Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards have gotten expensive. But what I think is hilarious is the fact that if you're Ruxin, you know Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards have always been expensive, with ups and downs, highs and lows of metas, in which a tier 1 deck used to be $400, and then you blink, and it's $800. You blink again, it's $1,000. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta constantly shifts and changes, and throughout different metas, you have different prices. Necros at peak was roughly around $1,200, and that's back, well, in Necros format, forever ago, 2015. So we'll do 2015. Take that price, we'll do $1,000. Compared to today, Necros would be roughly around $1,300 today. And that was back in 2015. You guys always had ups and downs of expensive and inexpensive metas. That doesn't mean necessarily that you have to buy these cards. You can play other decks like I pointed out clearly, Flunderies, a deck which beat my expensive Rescue Ace deck, which is almost max rarity, but still lost to Flunderies, a deck which cost roughly around $40 to $50 depending where you get it. Hanko Chow made top 4 recently with Flunderies out of regionals. So what are we talking about here? Is the game expensive? Can you afford it? Are you pandering to a crowd just to get people to click on your videos? Because this is a topic that Yu-Gi-Oh! Players want to just feel better about. Everybody wants welfare Yu-Gi-Oh! Nobody wants to spend money in Yu-Gi-Oh! But at the same time, everybody wants to have expensive cards in this game, but nobody wants to spend the money on the cards. It doesn't work that way. This game, at best, is a lottery system. And sometimes you just fucking lose. And sometimes you win. But you can't always win, and when you lose, you can't always bitch. That's the point of what I'm trying to get in this video. Yes, the meta decks are expensive, and yes, these cards are insanely expensive, and yes, at the end of the year, we will have reprints, so Yu-Gi-Oh! Players will have the opportunity to get these cards at maybe a lower rarity, or maybe even equal rarity, or in a case of SP, maybe even a better rarity. So there is a chance of this happening. But one thing's for sure, complaining about the expensive card prices doesn't do nothing, because at the end of the day, the same Yu-Gi-Oh! Players complaining about how expensive these cards cost are the same ones going to TCG Player and buying these cards. They're the same ones that are gonna go, the game's expensive, and they'll be the same motherfuckers that will fucking pre-buy boxes of Maze of Millennia, hoping to win their lottery of pulling a bonfire. They don't care about the change, they just wanna bitch about it. That's the point. You can buy into this game, you can play a lower rarity deck, you can do still a lot of things in this game. Little fun fact, by the way, another massive side note, Teledad was a lot more expensive than I was actually saying as well. Because if you wanted to get a card like Ghost Sarcophagus, you were spending at least $1,000. So besides the fact the deck core is $1,000, roughly, by the way, that's if you got a good deal. Crush Card Virus being $1,000, Sarcophagus was only available as a prize at the time, which added another $1,500 to your build. Oh, and a Teledad was too rich for your blood and you wanted to play another deck, you were basically out of luck, because most Shonen Jump top cuts were almost entirely Teledad in a span of time, making it one of Yu-Gi-Oh's true Tier 0 format. Great article on TCG Player by Zachariah Butler. It's an excellent article, talks about the most expensive decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's true. We are now in a meta in which you can play a very expensive Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. I'm not disagreeing. I think this deck, $746 plus $300 plus whatever the next month's set's gonna cost is going to be near an expensive deck. But is it gonna be the expensive deck of all time? Hell no, not even close. 2008 Yu-Gi-Oh! Teledad, being roughly around, we'll be generous and say $3,000, costs way more than the most expensive deck you could fathom today. Once again, $3,000 in 2008, which is what your average would pay for Teledad, and we're being very generous, would be roughly around $4,274.15 today. It's not even in the same ballpark, not even the same league. And Teledad was tier 0, where you can spend a couple of bucks, get Flunderies, and go and smash face at your locals. People look down at Flunderies as a deck core, but I'm telling you right now, for a couple of bucks, you can beat people that are spending thousands on their decks. Unlike Teledad, where you were forced to play that, or you just forced to lose. I played in that meta, I didn't have the money, I took a lot of L's, but I had a lot of fun. And that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is at the end of the day. So continue complaining, saying this game's expensive, and opening packs and boxes showing how expensive this game is, showing off your, the money you pay in this game. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter though. The point is, what I'm trying to make in this entire video is Yu-Gi-Oh! Will be expensive, and there'll be times it'll be cheap. Pitching Wild doesn't do anything because the player base is not going to do anything as a whole, as a community, to get involved, to change Konami's mind. They're just going to play, and then they're going to go buy the cards. It'd be great if the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community can get together and do something for Konami. It'd be great to force Konami to change, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Play ain't gonna do that. Not even close. It's too fractured. There's so many people on too many different sides, and everyone's gonna act like a bunch of little bitches and egomaniacs when, yeah, it'll be great to have cheaper cards in this game. I would love that. I like getting max rarity, and I still think it'll be great to have cheaper cards in this game. But the point of the whole situation is no one's gonna do nothing. These same players will be buying you, maybe not YGO, but the rest of these players will be buying Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards again. Why? Because that's the point of the game. It's your boy V, and you guys all have a great day.